Here's why you shouldn't be worried about your money in a war, a pandemic, a recession, or global turmoil. A, because you don't have much of it. I'm sorry, I've gone and said it. I know, what an asshole. But I want you to think about this from a different angle. Now, this week I was asked a question by someone about, hey, what do we need to be thinking about given what's happening out there and we could be going into World War III? What bank accounts do I need to be thinking about? The likes of that. And I often get questions like this. And now this time I basically said to the person, all right, how much money are we talking here? And they said a 5-figure amount of money. And it was just in the 5 figures. And this is no disrespect to that person, but it's just a good example of what I see all the time. And I also see this in business where we worry about things. And I said, well, I didn't even say this to them, but often on a podcast where I have more time to unpack it, because I feel a bit bad going back in the comments being like, seriously? Like, who needs to be more worried? The person with $1 million or the person with $10,000? But I said to them, okay, and they said, oh, but I've got quite a bit of my KiwiSaver. And so I said, well, have you gone and spoken to your KiwiSaver provider around the risks of investing? Because we're in a war at the moment internationally. There's wars going on, and there seem to always be wars going on. We're in a 2-year recession. We've had a global pandemic. We've had a boom and a bust. It doesn't look like it's going to get any easier next year. So was none of that enough to worry you about the safety or security of your KiwiSaver to then go to your KiwiSaver provider to ask them, hey, what do I need to be thinking about? Are you able to give me any advice? What could I be considering into the future? And then understand your risk profile, your age, why you've got that money invested, and do the learning to understand that all of that stuff is going to happen in our lifetimes. Now, instead, I think as humans, what we do is we're like, whoa, I've consumed some negative data and some stuff going on. I better worry about that because I've given it to my brain. And of course, our brain's going to be like, warning, 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 you should do something. But then we don't actually do anything, or we do something drastic. Now, when the vid hit a few years ago, a lot of people lost money via investing via KiwiSaver because they moved their funds from aggressive to conservative or balanced and then never put it back in. So even if this person does go to their KiwiSaver provider and they decide that, you know what, it's really risky out there, we're about to hit World War III, I think that, because they must have a think of what's going to happen. So let's say they think that the stock market's going to tank 30%. So they've got a time getting out perfectly, right? And then they're going to have hindsight. If it doesn't happen, like, damn, I should never have done that. I've just cost myself X, Y, Z into the future. But then even if they nail it and they get out the next day, World War III, bang, stock market tanks 30%, 50%, whatever. They're like, look at me, great. My 50 grand is still worth 50 grand. Awesome. It's 50 grand. Like, is that enough to retire on and all of that stuff, to have all of this worry, to then try and nail getting out of the stock market at the perfect time? Don't know. For a lot of people, that's a lot of money, right? So I get that, but I'll come to another point later on. But let's just carry on with this. And so then this person, though, when the war stops or when things change again, they've got to then nail it again and decide, when do I go back in? Because their next question becomes, when does the war end? When does the pandemic end? All of that sort of stuff. And that's what happened for a lot of people in COVID, is that, damn, I shouldn't have said the word. I don't think videos like it. I don't know why. But anyway, people didn't get back in. So then they missed the swing back up of the stock market. And we've seen the S&P 500 at all-time highs and stuff. And so those people have potentially liquidized some losses by switching it and then potentially never got back in. So there was over $1 billion, I think, was wiped out of KiwiSaver balances because we don't have the education around it. But I think Kiwis are slowly learning more about investing, and we just want to stay in for the longer term and understand that throughout our investing time, and lifetime, we'll see war, we'll see pandemic, we'll see recession. Like, a lot of us have already seen this stuff, but really the answer from financial advisors will be, don't time the market, just continue to dollar cost average in each week. But that's not really what this video is about. The video is about worry and this unnecessary worry. Now, what I get to explain on a podcast when I have a bit more time and a bit more context is, do you know, it's really strange. So I get to have lunch with high net worth individuals. I get to have lunch with successful people. I get to have lunch with people who have a lot of money, who have a lot of money invested, who are thinking about investing a lot of money. And do you know what they never really speak to me about? They never go, hey mate, I'm keeping my eyes on the banks at the moment, eh? I think there could be a crash. I'm going to take my millions and I'm going to just have it sitting at my house. Hey, have you heard how the stock market might crash? Hey, have you thought about how war's going to impact X, Y, Z? Sure, like they will have conversations, but they don't seem, like people with less money seem to be worried more about this stuff than the people I speak to who have more money. I kind of think, with a bank collapsing, for instance, I'm like, who needs to be more worried? Someone with 10K or someone with $1 million? Now, in our minds, we'll be like, well, the person with $1 million can afford to lose it. How do you know? That could be everything they have, just like the person with the $10,000, right? But these people seem to worry less about that stuff. So I think part of it is that when we get a little bit of money, now we're into protection mode of like, shit, I do not want to lose this, whether it's investing, whether it's saving. And if we get stuck there, then we're probably going to live in scarcity. We're not going to get into growth. We're not going to get into thinking about risk taking, calculated risk taking. And then all of those people who do that stuff, they slowly get further away from us. And we go like, how did that happen? Rich, evil, asshole, standing on people, can't believe it. What did they, privilege. What school did they go to? All this stuff. But maybe they just took a little bit of compounded risk over and over and over again for decades. And then we've stayed here going like, it's no way. Could be a deeper recession next year. The war could start next year. This could happen. And so then we never take any risk. So, message here, be very careful with your worry and what you let it do to paralyze you into not taking any action, or what you let it do to undo some of the good work that you have been doing. And of course, after I post this video, Bitcoin could crash, the stock market could crash, we could enter World War III. I still look at that stuff, I'm like, holy shit, okay. But I still get up the next day and think, okay, what do I need to do today? What do I need to do for my 20, 30, 40-year future? Am I executing towards my strategy? There is so much negativity and noise every single day because it sells revenue and advertising to you that every day, if you want to be worried, you can find a newspaper headline that will be like, shit, I shouldn't be investing, I shouldn't be taking any risk, I shouldn't be doing anything. Even for some people, they believe that the world's going to end because of climate change, right? Well, then you probably wouldn't have kids because you don't want them to see that, right? And I know that some people actually think like that and are taking that action because of that. But there are a lot of people who are genuinely worried about climate change and the world being in a bad position, but it's not stopping them have children. But wouldn't you think the real drastic thing to do would be like, probably don't have kids? And I know this is a pretty out there example, but sometimes I think with money, we over dramatize it more because we're so worried about never getting it back. Sometimes to get more money, we actually have to let it go to start with to know that it can come back. And this is why Christian people, for instance, are big on giving and tithing. And some people will be like, no, it's not, it's a scam to prop up the churches and stuff. Okay, cool. But part of the principle of what they're trying to do is to understand that they can let some money go, they can worry about it less, and that the world will provide back, and then they will get more back in return. And for some, it probably works, and for others, who knows? I don't have heaps of Christian friends that I could call on for some examples in this space, but I see some of them doing it and they live good lives and they're happy with it and they're happy to tithe and happy to give as long as they're not being taken advantage of. But for a lot of us, I think we just get so shit scared about this latest headline or this latest thing that's going on, but we never go and collect the data. So what I want you to do, if you are worried about something when it comes to finance, is to go and collect the information. Now, often with a business owner, they will worry about something happening and we'll go, okay, what is the true reality of that worry? A very simplistic statement is basically that 90% of things you worry about will never happen, and then the 10% that you do are never as bad as what you thought they were going to be. So what a great framework to live by anyway. But sometimes with business owners, they'll worry about all this stuff, and then we'll go and we'll challenge them to try and collect the data to figure out if that could happen, or if it's happened in the past, or the likelihood of it happening, and they really struggle. And then we're like, okay, you know what? We're going to suggest that it does happen. Now what do you do? And then they're like, I'll do this, and I'll do this. And they're like, oh, okay, I kind of already know what to do, even if the worst thing happens that I'm worried about. So then why do we keep focusing on this? Why don't we focus on growth, goals, opportunity, how I can give more, how I can contribute more, how I can become more valuable, how I can add more to society, how I can have a more grateful and blissful life, how I can help other people, all these sorts of things. Why aren't we focusing on that? Instead, we're like, war could start tomorrow, man, and my KiwiSaver might go from 50 grand to 40. That pot of money that I can't touch anyway till I'm 65. yeah, I wonder if I should be, worrying about this some more. Is that a good use of your brain capacity when you're so powerful as a human? I've got 10 grand in the bank. Mate, I might take it out because I am worried about BNZ going under. No shade on BNZ, just use you guys as an example. Yeah, I'm going to go draw it out today. That's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to get my 10 grand. I guarantee you having you worry, where are we going to put the 10 grand in our house? Shit, where's it safe? Where's it safe to have 10 grand? Where's somewhere that no one will ever... Fuck, we've got a cleaner coming next week. They might find the 10 grand. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I should have done this. We always forget that there's another worry to worry about, even when we do the thing that we think is the right thing to do. So, to tie some of this together, let's say you do draw out your 10K from BNZ because you're worried about them going under. Imagine how fucked the country is going to be, or how much trouble we're really going to be in if BNZ go under. It ain't just going to be you with your 10K. What about my clients with $1 million? What about people with 100,000? What about people that have just got enough for a house deposit? Do you think you're going to be the only one that's like, holy shit? I would suggest that if a bank like BNZ went under, there would be a drastic approach to keep the financial system stable in order so that you with your 10 grand, someone with their 100, someone with their $1 million, the sports club that uses BNZ, that has all of their money in a term deposit with BNZ, because they're using that to protect the long-term longevity of that sports club, they're going to be squealing as well. Again, no shade BNZ. Like I say, I hope this doesn't happen. But we worry about all this shit, and half the time we don't even have that much to worry about. It's like, come on. Think about who else could have these problems as well and how much bigger their problems can be. Now, I don't want to take away from people who, may have whatever amount of money, but this is the way that I learned to get through this stuff, because I would have some of these thoughts too. Then I'd be like, bro, why are you worried about your fucking 3 grand in Westpac saving account going under? Why don't you focus on how to turn that into 6K? Why don't you focus on how to turn it into 30 to 60? Why don't you get some real cash so that you've got a real problem if you were to lose it? Why don't you learn to continue to invest through some of these cycles, pandemics, etc., when it's tough, when everyone's been like, investing's not for me. How do you make sense of still doing it? And how do you tie it back to your overall lifetime goals? So that's how I started to, break some of these topics down, or these thoughts or these worries down. And then I also learned that 90% of your thoughts are the same as yesterday, as we've talked about before, and they're negative. So you're going to have worry every day. You're always going to be worried. You could be in fucking heaven and some of you will be worried, So just be mindful that your brain's going to keep shooting at you things to be worried about. Something could hit this building right now and it's all over. But is that worth me thinking about? Like, I don't know if I should live up here. When I moved up here, to be honest, I'm like, fuck, I wonder what happens in the event of a fire. And then, do you know what my brain was like? Well, I'd imagine a lot more people smarter than you would have thought about that. So I reckon there'll be some solutions, eh? And how come, if that was such a big risk, why is everybody still living in here and choosing to live in here? And how have they for X amount of years? I'm like, you know what? That's good enough for me to live here. But, for some other people, they're like, oh, I couldn't live there. Too dangerous, too risky, or whatever. What if there is a fire or something? I reckon someone would have thought about it, and I reckon someone will solve it. Because you know what humans are really good at doing? Solving problems. But instead, we get ourselves stuck that we're not going to be able to solve those problems. Anyway, I thought this one would be 10 minutes, but we're itching closer to 15. I hope that helps you to think about some of the stuff. Remember, you're always going to worry. Sometimes, we worry and we forget to think, okay, who would have a bigger problem than I? How are they processing this? That's really helped me to think about some of these things in life. And then also, where is this noise and this worry coming from? And is it worth my time and my energy? Shouldn't I take my brain capacity and use it towards something more positive and something that's going to help me in my life and help me get further down the path, rather than being stuck in being paralyzed and doing something not helpful with my brain? I hope that helps you. If you guys worry about money and things like that, I'd love to know, what you think in the comments. Let us know. A reminder, I'm just a dude on the old YouTube. I don't have all the answers. And also, I can unpack a lot of these topics in longer form in the podcast. So there's over 600 episodes of Keep the Change now. 1.5 million downloads will be hit in December. Shout out to all of you if you do tune in over there. Thanks to everyone who's been leaving comments recently. I try to look at them at least all, but shit, there are notifications going for Africa. Be good out there.